Welcome back to Quinny Connection. Thanks for joining us. Well, 2025, start of a new year, starting off fresh. Many of us are thinking about New Year's resolutions, what can be attainable, but also really sitting back and focusing how we can both improve our mental and our physical health. So joining us is Vicky Legate from Pure Energy Fitness Studio. You might remember back in our Cable View 4 days, decades ago, Vicky had a great show called Pure Energy Show. So Vicky, it's so great to meet you in this context. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
With your gym, Vicky, where is it located, Pure Energy Fitness Studio?
It's located 250 Bridge Street West. We're tucked in behind the Belmont Nursing Home, just off of Stinson Ave, a 2,000 square foot facility, and I do personal training as well as small group classes with up to 10 people.
Throughout your fitness career, Vicky, what are you noticing? What are kind of the top things that clients are coming in with these days, the last few weeks especially?
Yes, a lot of people are really excited about getting back into routines. You know, we've all had a little maybe too much to eat, not as much movement over Christmas as we are used to having. And I've got some of my, regulars coming back, but also people that are new to the studio. And for instance, I had a client last week that she has an older mother that lives alone. And my client had to cancel because she's helping her mother with the hip that she broke from falling on the ice. So that is something that we need to address. It's not just the building muscle and looking good in a bathing suit fitness. And I think until we get a little older and start to worry about falling and what might happen if we break something, when we're younger, we don't think about it so much. But we all see our kids have fun skipping, jumping from curb to curb, doing silly things. Our balance is something that we get a little nervous about practicing as we get older. But I encourage my clients that we should practice balance about 3 hours a week. And that's a lot. Even myself teaching things with balance, I don't do it as much as I should unless I find the extra time. So I encourage people, it's not just about when you go to the gym or come to the studio. Find those times when you're standing in line at the grocery store, waiting in line at the bank. Can you be standing on one leg? Now, that doesn't mean your other leg has to be tucked behind your head and making a display of it. It can be very subtle. No one even needs to know you're doing it. You might even do a staggered stance where your feet are just one a little bit in front of the other. I have many clients that tell me they brush their teeth on one foot all the time. So just finding those little routines and habits that will help you.
Good tricks. Another thing I'm constantly worrying about is my posture. Of course, I've got 2 mic packs behind me when I'm sitting in this chair. So how can we be more mindful, Vicky, of kind of making that space and time? Are there any tricks you give your clients about, doing these little steps, especially posture?
Yes, and nowadays with phones, computers, even reading, knitting, things that we older people do. Shouldn't say older, anyone could knit. But all of our habits and hobbies, and even more so with technology, is all about being forward. So simply thinking of lifting your sternum, sitting up a little taller on the sit bones. Sometimes when I'm driving, I just pull my shoulders slightly away from the back of the seat, making sure your head is up on top of your spine and you're not leading forward with your head. Often we're very tight in our pec muscles because we're leaning forward. So to do exercises that strengthen behind and even the doorway stretch, you might have heard of that. I could put my arms up on either side of a doorway and slightly shift my body forward, which is going to give me a nice gentle stretch through there.
How do we be successful at maintaining our new goals for fitness? As you mentioned, it's not always about getting into that perfect bathing suit or that perfect size that you want to get your clothes fit into. But Vicky, how do we make these goals realistic?
Very good question. And that is the key, is realistic and attainable. So to say you're going to start running 5 kilometers every day, or you're going to join a gym. One of my clients told me she heard a cardiologist do a talk this morning on, I think it was TV, and asked about goals. And even as a cardiologist, he didn't say go out and start running. But his advice, which I highly agree with, is move more and eat less. And as we age, it's very important to strengthen our muscles. So start walking, adding weight-bearing activity, and just making a smaller portion, eating your meals maybe on a smaller plate, choosing more unprocessed food, and just making small goals and building upon them. It really comes down to habits. And I was given some good advice a few years ago to create or to take something small. It's very easy to do something when it seems easy, like let's just drink a glass of water a day, but it's also easy to not do it. So to stack your habits, if I am always going to make that cup of coffee in the morning, or I'm always going to check my phone for my messages, I know one fellow that puts his phone inside the basket of his coffee, or sorry, this fellow puts a water glass in there. So his goal is to drink more water. Another person was telling me they set their glass on their phone. So before I check my phone, I take that glass, I fill it with water. Take something you're already doing. For instance, you wouldn't leave the house without brushing your teeth. So maybe you do a simple plank before or after. You stand on one leg, you get down and do a set of squats. You do 10 squats before you use your washroom facilities every morning. Factoring it into your life where it becomes a habit that it doesn't create as much thought.
I think that's the key for many of us who've been struggling in the past with New Year's resolutions. Vicky, I mean, with Pure Energy Fitness Studio, for folks who want to meet you in person and get into the gym and get all your wisdom firsthand, what are you offering class-wise right now?
I have about 15, 16 classes a week, and I have 6 a.m. early bird classes for those who want to do it before work. I have some lunch classes at 12:15. And I also offer some evening classes. I offer barre, which is a combination of a little bit of ballet training. And it doesn't mean you've had to have ballet. We do things like plies and squats and leg lifts combined with some weights. I have some yoga as well. And strength training with body bars and dumbbells and balls and BOSUs and TRXs. So it's very functional training with small classes. So as my clients say, they don't get away with much because I can very closely watch them.
That's good. I mean, that's the key to success, right? And to prevent injury when you have somebody making sure you're doing it safely and consistently. So do you still do personal training, Vicky?
I do. I am very busy with that. It's very popular. People will come in and do 30 minutes of cardio, and then I'll spend 30 minutes with them. It really depends on what their goals are, you know, what they need to strengthen. Of course, balance, core work is always included in all of that. And as we get older, I'm really encouraging my clients that are older to lift weights that do challenge them. Good form is always the most important, but eating more protein and building more muscle is the key to staying strong as we age.
You've given us lots to think about. Once again, Vicky Legate, Happy New Year. Wishing you all the best in 2025, and thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.